Welcome to the Museum of Ventura County. I'm Renee Talent, Manager of Historic Collections here at the museum, and your host for Feast or Flop. Today, I'm collaborating with chef and restaurateur Louise Sanchez from Thousand Oaks. For our dessert, Chef Louise is cooking up a Norwegian dessert called Fattigmand. Today, we are in Thousand Oaks, and I am joined by Chef Louise.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome to my house.
So the first one we're going to start with is actually from here in Thousand Oaks. It's, I think I'm pronouncing this right, but I'm not sure. Fattigmand.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we'll just, someone will correct us if we're wrong, I'm sure. This is a Norwegian dessert, right. And it was submitted to one of our community cookbooks maybe around the 60s, 70s. That's kind of when it was submitted, but the recipe seems much older. And it is a Norwegian dessert, which is perfect because here in Thousand Oaks, in the 1890s, there were 4 men who started the Norwegian colony.
Is that right?
Yeah, here in Thousand Oaks. So there's a lot of history here. And they also were in charge. So they were farmers, and they were making crops and growing things. And they were trying to get their wheat to market, and they needed a road to be able to do that. So they built the Norwegian grade. So they got like $60 worth of dynamite from the county and pickaxes, and they built the Norwegian grade, which is the bottom part of Moore Park Road.
Is that right?
Yeah. So if you've ever been down there, that was part of this Norwegian heritage. So we're kind of celebrating Thousand Oaks history.
Homage to Norway, then.
Yeah. Cool. Yes, it is. Cool. So with that, I think we can go ahead and get started.
All right. So we have our recipe here, and we're kind of just working off the recipe, and we're trying to stay as traditional as we can with it. So it says to mix the egg yolks, which there's 6 of them. I think we're almost there, and then we have to add all the rest of the ingredients.
The cardamom is the most expensive part of this recipe for anyone who's going to make it at home.
Cool. And I think at this point, we're going to just go ahead and add all the flour. So we're going to trust our recipe.
Fattigmand literally translates to poor man's cake, poor man's cookies. I think the idea being that it's all ingredients that you would generally have at your house. You might have flour, butter, heavy cream. So the cardamom is really the special part of the dessert.
All right, so we are there. I'm just gonna wrap this up. And we're gonna put it in the fridge, and then we're gonna come back and roll it out. What do you think, an hour or so?
Yeah,
we'll
I
give
think
it a shot. We're just testing things here. Cool.
All right, so we pulled the dough out of the refrigerator, and now it's time to roll them out.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna cut it in half and see if that makes it a little bit easier. And what shape are we making again?
We're gonna make diamonds. So it doesn't say how thick they need to be rolled out to, but they will get fried. So
we're just hoping that this stays together for us to roll.
The dessert was really popular for like Christmas time, so it's kind of like a specialty thing. Probably because you have to roll out dough and cut things and fry things. It's kind of a process.
So we're gonna give it a shot with what we have right now. So we're gonna cut it in diamonds, which we're gonna go this way.
Yeah. So if you cut at one row at an angle and then one row straight, you should end up with that.
So we're gonna go angle this way.
Yeah.
And maybe this thick.
Yep. That looks about the right size to me.
Cool. That's because I've never made this.
In my infinite wisdom, having never made these before, that looks like a great size to me.
So we're going to go up straight. Up straight. If you've made this before and we're just not doing it justice, share and let us know.
And also don't blame us because we're just following the recipe.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a second episode. So we're just going to carefully get them out of here and put them on this sheet. I'm gonna add my oil to my pan. I'm covering the bottom semi-generously with oil. I'm not doing a dry saute, so there's a good amount of oil. I'm not deep frying, I'm not filling it up all the way up, but I definitely want some oil in there. And I wanna make sure that that's warm. And in between, I put our dough, our diamonds of dough, I put them in the fridge to cool right before frying, because that's kind of what I would do at the restaurant, I guess.
Yeah, this is one where, again, they don't give us a lot of direction. It just says
No.
fry in deep fat at 370 degrees for 2 to 3 minutes, and that's it.
Cool. So far, so good. And now, so we're going to add our second one. Our third one. And our fourth one. Cool. I am assuming we're going to start getting some color soon. Again, I don't want to move it around too much. And I'm going to use this tool, which is called a spider, to flip it. The oil is getting a little frothy or foamy. And that tells me that some of that, the dough was still a little too crumbly. Some of it's getting lost in the oil. So definitely, if I was going to make this again, which I think I will probably double or triple the amount of liquid that went into the dough that we originally had mentioned.
Yeah.
The opposite side is going to be much faster, so we're going to start taking them out.
Looks good.
Yeah, looks good. That's it. We're done frying. So our
Fattigmand.
yes, are done. We fried them. A couple of things we noticed. And because you have a little bit more experience, I think, with this dish. It doesn't really look the way I thought it would look.
I don't think so either.
It feels, and we haven't tasted yet, but it feels like pie crust that's being fried, which might be delicious. But I don't know if we lost something in the translation of what cream and or I guess mainly cream or flour maybe used to be, or in the amounts maybe something was off, because it feels like it could still use probably double of the amount of fat and liquid that we put in there. So
yeah, so now that they're hot and fresh out of the fryer, now is when we want to put the sugar on.
yeah, that helps with the sticking.
All right, we've come to the part of Feast or Flop where we actually get to taste these recipes to see if they are a feast or if they didn't quite work out. And we may have a few things that taste good, but didn't technically come together the way that we were expecting them to.
I think so too. But all in all, it was a very cool experience. So
Yeah.
for me as a chef, it was cool to see. I haven't followed a recipe in many years, because now you just kind of wing it, But it was exciting, and ingredients were cool. So thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this time too to thank you very much for participating with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Excited. Anything that has to do with cooking, I'm always up for. So it's also a learning experience. So thank you for your knowledge.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm happy to have you as a partner on this.
Cool. This one is going to be another one that surprisingly wasn't very. I guess the recipe wasn't really doing it for us when it came to textures of something that we're used to frying. So it was very pie dough-like, but it held together in the oil. We made a couple of little adjustments like we talked about in the video, and then we added the cardamom to the sugar to give it a little more of a kick. So please.
Yeah, I think this is one. We were giving the liver and onions a hard time for not having a lot of instructions, but this one had instructions and we still didn't quite get there.
Yeah, we just feel like they weren't either up to date to what standards of ingredients are now, or
a typo, a misprint,
Yeah.
something happened.
That's pretty good. Look, I just feel like I need a shot of espresso and then bring me the check. I'll have this again.
Me too. I don't know how it was supposed to turn out.
And I don't think
it's
this.
traditional.
No,
I don't think it's authentic. It's delicious. I think that I don't know what it's supposed to be, but whatever we've ended up with is a good product. So like, even if it's not what you expect, you can still have a delightful dessert at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it feels, I don't know, almost cake-like. It's not really a donut. It's not anything I've had before. Because it's not light. But the sugar with the cardamom, I can definitely taste it in there too. So yeah, it's good, really good.
That was one of the tweaks that we made. We added cardamom into that sugar, and that is delicious. That is a good bite.
Yeah, that's tasty. I'll not only make that again, but I would order it if I ever see it on a menu.
Me too. I would too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
You.
I really appreciate your expertise, and I think that we ended up in a really good place with some really good food, and it's always fun to try out these historic recipes and to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Ventura County.
Years. That's awesome. I live in Thousand Oaks. I have a business here, and I wanted to contribute in any way. And it was nothing but enjoyable. We had a great crew today. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, so visit Chef Luis at Mouthful, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
All of the Feast or Flop recipes will be available for you to create and enjoy at home. You can see them on the museum website at venturamuseum.org, broadcast on CAPS Channel 6, and on CAPS Radio at 104.1 FM.